introduce myself. I'm Alex Michael, and I'm a DevOps engineer. So from the topic we can see over here, it says troubleshooting cloud services and infrastructure. And most of the time we talk about troubleshooting, most people tend to mistake it for repairing. I could remember when I was growing up, anytime they mention troubleshooting, the next thing I start thinking is, okay, how are we going to lose this thing? How are we going to open it up? How are we going to do this and that? And then while I was having to graduate in my career, having to grow, I then found out that it is not necessary for you to be an engineer, in quotes, having to use the screwdrivers, having to use the spanners and all that. That's for mechanics. But on this part, we are talking about devices such as phones, such as tablets, such as computers, desktops, and all that. So we don't have to use the old tools just because we want to troubleshoot. No. What we do now is that as administrators, you have to know what could actually be the cause of this problem. That is all what troubleshooting is all about. Having to determine the reason why a challenge or a problem is actually coming up in a particular device. So from that, we are looking at, okay, fine, what could be the reason for problems in cloud services? What could be the reason for issues that might come up in our cloud infrastructures? We have different cloud infrastructures. We have AWS, which is Amazon Web Service. We have Microsoft Azure. We have Google Cloud and all that. So that's what we are trying to look at today. What could actually be the problem? How can we troubleshoot it? So our case study is going to be log analytics. So you might ask me, what is log analytics? Please, next slide. Okay. So what is log analytics? From the slide, we can see it is a proliferation of cloud computing services and infrastructure, and has led to an explosion of log data. This is a whole lot of English, because this is a blend of many fields in this KD session. So I would like to keep it simple. First thing it says, the proliferation of cloud computing services and infrastructure. Infrastructure is anything that we have on the cloud, because right now we are talking about the cloud infrastructure. It is that AWS I mentioned the other time. It is that Google Cloud I mentioned the other time. So all those are actually cloud infrastructures. And within those cloud infrastructure, we have different components that mix it up. We have servers, we have databases and all that. So with all these can run using data. Right now, the world has gone into data analytics and all form of business intelligence and all that. And what is bringing about all this is because we have to make use of this data to provide solutions. So now we are talking about troubleshooting. We are talking about data. And we might ask ourselves, how can data actually help in troubleshooting? So let me keep on reading from the slide to explain better. Stock data is crucial to understanding cloud platforms and security issues alike. DevOps teams are responsible for dealing with issues in code and the connection between code and the cloud production environment. It further says that log analytics softwares solutions are used to collect, aggregate, analyze, and visualize computer-generated log data from sources throughout the IT environment. Now, all these I've read only means this. Without data, the truth is this, a machine cannot run. We are talking about software development today. We are talking about business intelligence today. We are talking about web development today. Now, All these generate data. And we also need data to also make this work. I can imagine some KD sessions ago, we are talking about arrays. Now, without data, arrays are not possible. These arrays are what generates should I say the data in those databases in the banks and big organizations such as maybe oil companies and all that. So now it says from the slide that log analytics software solution are used to collect, aggregate, meaning first thing it does, that's for log analytics, is that it collects data. It aggregates them, meaning it compiles them together. Then it analyzes it. It performs some quantitative analysis on that data, and then it visualizes it. For data analysis, for data analysts in the house, they know what Power BI is used for. They know what Excel is used for. They know what some other data analytic tools are used for. They're actually used also to visualize that, okay, fine, I've collected a whole lot of data, I've collected a whole lot of information about this particular process, but how can I actually view it at a goal? Then the next thing that comes to mind is that, okay, let me put it into a pie chart, or let me put it into a bar chart, so that at first glance, I will have a brief overview of all what has been happening maybe in that particular process, or the operation that has been by that software, that process. So can anyone please hear me before we go further?
Yes.
All right, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nice, sir. So in the next slide says proficiency of log analytics. When we talk about proficiency, what are these things? What is it good for? What does it solve? What does it do? Where does it come in play? So that's what we are about to talk about now. And from our slide, we can see it says one of the proficiencies is that log data, rather, one of the proficiencies of log analytics solution is that it provides log data collection and aggregation. This is what you mentioned at the last slide. And from the slide, it says log analytics solution collect, aggregate, and send. Hello? Oh, is anybody saying something, please?
Yeah. No.
Okay. So log analytics solutions collect, aggregate, I've already explained that, and centralize log data. To centralize means it collects everything and puts it together in such a way that every other, every other component, if we are talking about a process, just like our microservices, for example, you know, they are in bits. There should be a particular place where these microservices can actually put all their data. Let's say in the Bincom ecosystem, we have KD. There should be a place that KD will drop data. In that same place is where maybe social influence will also drop data. Everybody all drops their data there. And at the end of the day, whenever it's time to retrieve, they're able to collect it from that same source which they've been dropping their data. So that is what centralized means. When you centralize the data, it means that you are putting everything in a place so that they will be able to be retrieved, or they will be able to have, people will be able to have access to it whenever they need it. So, and it says, and data centralized log for analysis. These solutions gather log data from broad spectrum of sources that includes virtual machines, containers, storage, operating systems, network infrastructure, application, and endpoint devices. I would have really loved to explain further, but because of time, I will just move on. When I talked about microservices, is just something close to this container. And then virtual machines are, of course, for example, our AWS. most of us that operate on the cloud, we actually operate with virtual machines so that we'll be able to have access to our information or our servers anywhere in the world. So let's go on. The second strength of our log analytics solution is that it does log data normalization. And this is what it means. Various data sources tend to format their logs in different ways. So most log analytics solutions offer a means of normalizing log data such that a single unified index can be used for analysis. Now, what this just simply means is that data analytics solution just helps in doing all the data, like doing the analysis just in one place. You don't need to start, I want to do this one, I do it here. Maybe I want to perform a particular analysis on a data, maybe a data set, and I have to do it in one place. I want to do another one, I have to do it in another place, scattered and all that. No. Log analytics actually takes all the data together, as we've recently said, and then it does the analysis on one index, on one, in fact, as the slide says, it says a single unified index on one place, or rather in one place, so that it will be easy for we that we are also working on it to have should I say, we should have an easy feel and also an easy operation on that particular analytics solution. So the next proficiency, log indexing, storage and retention. We have querying and analytics. We have visualization and dashboarding. Now, let me see how to explain all this at once. So we talked about, I mentioned log indexing, storage, retention. Now, if you can look at the diagram beside this, oh, sorry, I did tell you to go to the next slide, please. Go to the next slide. Sorry. Are you there, sir?
I'm there.
Okay, sorry, sir. So let me start again. Other proficiencies are log indexing, storage and retention, querying and analytics, visualization, and dashboarding. We've talked about visualization in should I say in summary, when I said it, that collecting all the data, having to showcase it or having to visualize it so that we, the analyzers, can see. And even those that do not even have understanding of what maybe that data means, just by mere the pictorial view, they'll be able to have an idea of what they want to see. Then querying and analytics, of course, it does that. It helps in analyzing. It helps in maybe like fetch. Okay, fetch this data. Let's get this data. Let's use this. Let's take this one. Maybe from a particular table, we are taking an information and we are putting on that table. We are using one maybe as all these relationships that happens within data. This log data analytics also can help with that. So we also have log indexing and storage. I talked about indexing, where it has to do it in a particular place, and then storage also. It helps to also store information, which was what we discussed earlier, that it aggregates, and it also information and also collects information, then putting it in a centralized log data. So this log storage that we are talking about and retention, actually, that is what it's just trying to explain. So next slide, please, sir.
I'm there.
Okay, sir. So we can see here, it says useful log data for troubleshooting. Useful log data for troubleshooting. Now, we've talked about log data. At least now we can have an idea of what a log data means. It just simply means information generated by that particular machine or generated by that particular software. So we are now talking about how can we use this log data to troubleshoot. So from here we say There are many types of logs used for troubleshooting cloud services and infrastructure. Among them include 1, event log, 2, transaction log. Next slide, please, sir. Then we have message log, we have audit log. So we've mentioned 4 different logs that we can use for troubleshooting. We have event log, we have transaction log, we have message log, we have audit log. Now, if you should notice something, I just want to explain, I want to explain it in a summary because of time. If you should look at all these, they mentioned that event log, they mentioned transaction log. Let's take, for example, when you run a machine, those activities that are happening, maybe, for example, you start up your Windows system. I'll use Windows as an example because it's what everybody has knowledge about. You're on your Windows system. First thing it boots, it does this, it does that until you can view your desktop interface. Now, for those who are into system administration, they will be able to see each and every event, or let me use the word, each and every activity that has happened between that period when you on it to the period where you have your desktop page opened. Now, what if, for example, we have a problem? Maybe it was not able to load to the part where we will see our desktop interface. What now happens? It means that there's an issue. One of the ways for us to now track the issue, instead of us to have to, instead of us having to go through a lot of problems, is by checking what really happened. Okay, which part did it load? Which part did it not load? Okay, it's in this part it did not load. That is where we talk about event logs, because those information has been provided in such a way that you use some commands. For those that knows about scripting, use some commands to get, okay, this is what it has been doing over time, and this is where it stopped. So that is what event log is talking about. We have transaction log, which is done in SQL servers transactions. Most of the time, especially in an environment where databases are being handled, or very large cloud storage environment, they actually generate a lot of logs. They generate a lot of data that we have to go through. Please, can you go back to the last slide?
I'm there.
Now, there's a picture over there. In that picture, you can see found 13 audit logs records. But even in event log, even in transaction log, and every other log that I mentioned, message log and all that, they come in this form, in this pictorial form, that you will always have a time, though this is for a particular web cloud service, which might vary with different cloud services. Now, they must have a time at which that particular thing, or rather that particular event or that particular activity was going on, must be there. And some other fields also will also come up. You'll be seeing them. So now, if you should look at this, this person went to, maybe, let's just take, for example, let me use something that everybody knows about. Let me use the Windows again for an example. Now, we have many users that are logging into maybe a particular resource. They use a particular resource. Now, if you want to know, maybe there's now a problem, or there's an issue that you have to troubleshoot, and you want to know who is the last user that used this particular resource, you can easily find it. How? Through using the logs. You just check through, okay, how many users actually had access to this in the past, maybe 24 hours, 15 hours, or 10 minutes, and then you'll be able to see just easily like that. And then you'll be able to know, okay, let's start from here. Let's start troubleshooting this issue from here. At least you know that this is where the problem came from. It's from this person's account. So you don't need to start having to be lost in the cloud or in the smoke, saying, okay, where do I start from here? So that's what I'm talking about. So we have message logs, as I've mentioned, also comes in this same format too. We have audit logs. Some years ago, well, I built a bot for a forex bot, and then I was trying to generate some some problems in this.
Can anyone hear him? Hello?
Not at all.
I think his signal is down.